All right, here we go. We should be good. We should be back in the building. Y'all know what time it is on this Monday. We're looking all crispy and clean on the screen. Y'all know what to do. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream and another episode of the ClassE Barely Morning Show. Y'all know we starting a little late today, but we're in the building. Hopefully y'all are doing well. It's great to see everybody in here. We've got a lot of, we've got a lot going on today. If y'all thought the Karen Reed trial was done, you were wrong, because just because Karen Reed is not in court during this week, we still got a lot to talk about when it comes to Karen Reed. We've got a bunch of jurors speaking out. We have Brennan finally giving his first official statement. Still haven't heard from Morrissey, which is strange. But anyway, we're going to get into all that. But before I do, I got to say what's up to the people, man. Shout out to the gang in the building. Y'all know what to do. We got my awesome, amazing Amy in here. First thing, showing some love. Good morning. Les Cleaver's in the building. Mr. Brown's up here. Perfect Peace. Jay Buckmaster. Kara Hampton. Slim Life, New Jersey. Good to see all of you in the building. Libby 22 SC girls in here. Danny in real life. Kit Kat is in the building. What up, what up, what up? We've also got Trisha in here. Taco Tuesday is in here a day early. Good to see you, Taco Tuesday. Appreciate you. We got Frank Lucas in the building. That's a dope name. Shout out to Frank Lucas. Vintage Galleria is in here as well. Welcome, y'all. I do not ask for much on this show, but the number one thing I do ask is that you guys like the video on your way in. Not only is it free, it helps the show continue to grow. It takes less than a second, and it lets the algorithm know you guys are enjoying the show. It shares the video, the channel, this live stream you're on right now. It shares it out with more people. So if you guys could take a second, like the video, I would greatly appreciate it. Shout out to everyone who's done it. Over 800 of y'all have liked the video so far, which is amazing. So thank you. And y'all make sure you remind everyone who's joining to like the video on their way in too. And if you're feeling extra generous, you could actually share the video out too. I know so many of y'all do that. Shout out to Rhonda, always sharing out the video. Amy, of course, always sharing out the video as well. So thank you to all of you that share out the video. I'll also be reading super chats as we go throughout the show. We've got a couple of segments to get to, so I want to make sure I acknowledge everyone that's gone the extra mile and sent in some super chats. All right, let me see. Let me double check and make sure I didn't miss anybody. So we're good here. I didn't miss anyone there. All right, we've got Slim Life, New Jersey. First thing this morning. Shout out to Slim Life. She says with the 5 bomb, good morning, family. I hope everyone has a blessed day and stay cool. It's hot as ever. Yesterday was insane. It was super hot. Remember, God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. Amen. Love y'all. Shout out to Slim Life, New Jersey. Thank you for the love and continued support. We've got Virginia Wiley in here as well with the 5 bomb. Says happy Monday, CEB family. I pray all is well with everyone. Let's get this week started off great with prayer, patience, and love. Amen. Be blessed. Thank you so much, Virginia Wiley. And then y'all see her up in there, Amy, dropping the 5 memberships. If you got a membership from Amy, make sure y'all say thank you. She's always in here every live stream, supporting, doing so many things behind the scenes, keeping us up to date, giving great insight. So shout out to Amy for everything you do. Thank you for being here and supporting. All right. So if you got a membership, make sure you say thank you. CPE is in the building too. Shout out to CPE, just showing some love with the 5 bomb. Thank you, CPE. I've got something coming your way, so make sure you look out for that in the mail. I appreciate you. And thanks for the support as well. We've got a couple of members that are just joining the live stream too. Shout out to Jay Bird's in here. Shout out to Jay Bird, a forensic scientist. I remember this time, Jay Bird. It's in there now. Thank you for being in the building. We've also got, who else did I miss? Did I miss somebody else? Kara's in here with another one. Oh my goodness. Shout out to Kara in the building, dropping the 5 bomb. Says good Monday morning. Hope y'all had a great weekend. Let's start this week with a smile and have a great day on purpose. Y'all, man, we can have a great day. Have a great day. It's up to you. We can do it. All right. I asked y'all to share the video. I didn't share out my own live stream. What is up with that? So let me share this real quick and make sure everybody knows that we're live so they can come on over here. And we got some wild stuff to talk about. How are y'all feeling this weekend? And I want to know too, what are y'all hearing now that the Karen Reed trial is over? What do you guys think about upcoming trials? What are your thoughts on how everything ended? What's going on with the jurors speaking out? I know there was a huge interview that was done over on Runkle of the Bailey. Hopefully I'm saying this name right, with Alessi and Yannetti were over there. We're going to play a clip from that I saw on X, but not the entire video. So let me know what y'all think and what you're seeing going on around X and around the YouTube space when it comes to this trial and other trials, because I want to know what y'all are thinking there too. We got Slim Life in here with the 2 bombs. Says, just a reminder to be kind and respectful. And if you're new to the channel, guys, we welcome differing views here. We're not afraid to have conversation. Definitely not afraid to have differing views, but keep it respectful. We don't need name calling. All right. We're mature. We're adults here. Most of us anyway, most of us, but differing opinions matter, and they're important here, especially on this channel. Many of you may not know, we do believe innocent until proven guilty here, no matter the person, no matter the crime. And we like to see the evidence play out in court. Obviously, we develop our opinions as it goes along, but again, differing opinions do matter, and they're important for conversation and moving the conversation forward. So make sure if you have a differing opinion, do not be afraid on this channel to share that. Y'all stick around, have a good time. As well, shout out to Pretty Eyes T is in the building. Good to see you as well. Thank you for that reminder. Also, Slim Life. And what are y'all saying here? That JOK's family is delusional. The Alberts made a mistake by giving the interview, and they are being softballed by the media. Oh, that Nightline interview was disgusting. That Nightline Taco Tuesday says, speak for yourself. That's why I said some of us are adults. All right. That Nightline interview with the Alberts and the McCabe's was so disgusting to watch. And the media is just like, oh, let's talk about Chloe, but let's just avoid the questions about why Chloe disappeared in the first place. They say, hey, we know where she is. They know where she is. They didn't do any DNA swabs or anything, so we must be innocent. Really? The McAlberts didn't even testify in trial 2, only Jim McCabe. Yes. They're going after Turtle Boy with all of this for sure. Man, pray. We got to pray for Turtle Boy, because he's still sticking around that crazy county, city, whatever. Nah, I'd be up out of there, man. It's very easy to believe every single thing the defense says and disbelieve everything countering it. I have to remind myself of that. If you have a strong case, guys, it should not be this difficult. If you have a strong case on either side, it should not be this hard. Listen, when you look at things from a legal standpoint, which the jury is supposed to do, and that's how we view these court cases here on this channel. We look at it as someone who could potentially be on a jury, right? As someone who and myself has been on a jury. And we look at it and we say, okay, when it comes to the law, when it comes to the charges, what is being shown? Does the prosecution prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt? Was the defense able to show the innocence of their client or of the defendant? And even in the ASAP Rocky case, shout out to my guy, Joe Tacopina. Y'all are going to see Joe back on the channel soon. I even said to him, man, there were times during the ASAP Rocky trial, I was like, man, the prosecution, they kind of have a good case. I was nervous there for a little bit. It's like, man, when it comes to, is it a prop gun? Is it not a prop gun? We don't know. Okay, well, if it wasn't a prop gun, was Rocky legally allowed to do what he did? If it was a prop gun, was he still legally allowed to do what he did by intimidating and brandishing it? California laws are weird. So although we believe innocent until proven guilty, we still take things on a case-by-case basis. Obviously, with the ASAP Rocky trial, once we got to the end of it, we knew there was enough reasonable doubt to show Rocky was not guilty of the charges that they put him on. Same thing with Karen Reed, and we've seen in cases before. So if you have a good case, the prosecution has a good case, it should not be this difficult. Karen Reed trial, they did not have a good case. We saw the note that Brennan rested his case on, and it was garbage. We saw the cross-examination. Brennan seemed, I don't know what was going on with him. He seemed defeated. somewhat strong throughout his entire case presentation. Then once we got into cross-examination of the defense witnesses, he just fell apart. I think for me, once the prosecution rested, I knew they would have to acquit Karen Read. Easy, simple, straightforward, hands down. Shout out to Jeremy and Megan in here. I'm not freedom of speech it is a thing? Say what? You got to rephrase that, my friend. It's very okay. I read that one. John D. I don't know who that is. We'll just say John D. or however you spell his name has been really ugly to Juror 11. We're going to hear from John a little bit later. Court TV should not put him back on their channel. Guys, I'm not going to lie. I've got a little bit of rage bait for you. And if you're not a millennial or younger and you want to know what rage bait is, you're going to see it when we get to covering what Court TV had to say. I've given Julie Grant a lot of grace when it comes to critiquing her takes during this Karen Read trial. But what you're going to hear later in the show from Julie Grant and what she says about Hank Brennan's statement is going to shock a lot of you. And I know the chat is going to, it's going to be lit up. All right. I reviewed a little bit of it earlier. Haven't watched the whole thing, but make sure y'all stick around for that. It's going to be crazy. They're doing this because Turtle Boy's case against witness intimidation charges pending they have against him. Okay. I just don't understand why, if Chloe was such a big name in this trial, why no one focused on them to turn them over. Canton has another crazy case. John Casey found dead on the lawn of a house on Meadows Avenue. What? Wow. Court TV should be the most unbiased as possible. They're not even close. Julie has been ripping Karen to shreds this entire trial. And it was, I'll say, and it's been interesting to watch for sure. He was hiding exculpatory evidence and using altered videos, gaslighting and using stupid people. No wonder he lost. Dang! Not to mention that his own witnesses said, oh, yeah, there's no evidence there was a collision. Huh? You're wrong. Julie Grant is trash. Hey, man. Oh, just because somebody has a bad take and they have bias doesn't mean they're trash. But Julie, she picked the wrong side on this one. We're gonna get into it. She used to support Karen Read, which is weird. I had no idea and I couldn't tell. Shout out to Amy with the 5 memberships. We're gonna get into the show here. I love talking to y'all in the chat, man. Amy gifted 5 memberships. If you got a membership from Amy, again, make sure you say thank you. Major sponsor of today's show. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate you. She was on Karen Read's side. That's insane. Top of the morning, people. Good morning. They didn't take a tissue sample from John's arm, so they can't compare any dog DNA to it. And yeah, I think there's a lot of issues there. There are a lot of issues there. Yeah, the John Casey case, it happened around the same time John O'Keefe. Oh my goodness. I would like to know how the lawsuit Paul is filing against Karen will work. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Angela Rogers. Angela, I did actually 2 videos on that. If you go to my channel, or you can just type in the YouTube search bar, Karen Read lawsuit explain, or Karen Read civil lawsuit explain. We actually broke it down last week and went through the entire lawsuit. We went through the lawsuit. We showed some video clips of what's being said about the lawsuit. So yeah, make sure you go check that out. Thanks. I like your videos very much. Thank y'all for watching. I appreciate it. Will you talk about YSL Jamal Baker later? Ooh, what's going on with Jamal? I haven't seen anything on that. So y'all have to let me know what's going on with that in the chat. All right. I know you guys are ready to get into the content because boy, I got breaking news in the title and we got some news to get to. It's going to be crazy. Any channel that lets Krusty Patties on as a guest should be ashamed. Dang. Oh man. All right. We'll go ahead and get into it. Y'all, let's check this out. So last week, or in a couple of videos, I should say, we covered what was going on with juror number 11. Juror number 11 has been all over the media doing interviews on Court TV, Good Morning America, and then of course NBC over there in Boston, where they had this entire case going on. So now she is getting so much smoke for not only what she said she thought during the deliberations, but even her background. It's even getting to the point to where her and her family are being doxxed and her information is being put out there. It's getting wild. But I wanted to start with this clip from her, a news interview that she did when the verdict first came out, and read some of these comments to you guys. And then we'll actually get into another clip from her explaining further into why she felt the way that she did. Check this out.
Didn't want to hang this jury. We were very positive that we're going to discuss everything as much as we can because we don't want to. The amount of money spent on this trial made me very upset, and I'm sure made my fellow jurors upset too.
All right, so the person who posted this says, what in the actual F? Jurors didn't want to hang because, wait for it, they were upset about the cost of the trial. Who the F told you discuss and asked a single thing about the cost of the trial? Oh man, this person's upset. Shout out to Sunny Spirit. Money triumphs human life and justice. You can blame your cult for the expense. Okay, so they're talking about the Free Karen Read cult. So with this being said, first of all, Juror 11 and some of the jurors we've heard from in the past have made some interesting statements. For example, I think it was juror number 7 we did a video on, who said that they had a conversation about reasonable doubt, and they were saying that he thought reasonable doubt was if you're not 100% sure something didn't happen, then it has to be reasonable doubt. We know here on this channel that that's not true. That's not true. All right. There could have been, if the evidence was there, a case to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that John O'Keefe was hit by a car, that there was a collision, right? But we didn't have that. There was evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Karen Read was drinking. We cannot be 100% sure that Karen Read was, one, drunk, and that she couldn't operate a motor vehicle safely, right? Or with a basic function. But we do know she had a ton of drinks and she got in the car. A reasonable person would say, you probably shouldn't be driving, right? And that's how we came to that conclusion. And that's why here, live and in 4K, we were able to figure out that the verdict most likely was going to come back guilty on the OUI. So we've heard from these jurors how they think. Again, guys, they're regular people. They're not attorneys. They take the evidence that's been presented to them and they look at the evidence and make a decision. You don't like it, you got to change the system. We can't sit here and blame a juror for saying, hey, these were the things I was thinking about as a regular human being juror. And I was like, man, we've been in this trial for a long time. Dang, this is the second time this woman has been tried because it was mentioned in court. Dang, these police are corrupt, and so on and so forth. So I think it's funny that people are making this take because, again, every jury doesn't have the most top tier legal professionals. They're just regular people like you and me. Let's see what some of these people are saying. You do realize they were only going to be hung on the OUI, right? We talked about that as well. You should watch it without the volume and check her body language. Gives a really interesting perspective of her character. She's taking shots, y'all. It's crazy just for being honest about what she thought. Any intellectual person would know that it would be costing taxpayers a small fortune. They need to be told. I think he meant to say they don't need to be told. That's true. 2 trials, it's going to cost a lot of money. They spent the time to talk through every detail so there wouldn't have to be a 3rd trial. Isn't that what everyone wanted? The person who posted this, Sunny Spirit, said they absolutely did not do that at all because they were in the room, right? Yes, that's what they wanted. That's what we wanted. But they were deliberating. They were scheming. Oh my God. All right, that's enough of that. And also, shout out to Turtle Boy. I know y'all may have seen Aiden did an interview with Juror 11. It was a little more laid back. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I've seen a couple clips of it. If y'all want to go and watch it, I'll leave the link in the description to it. I'll leave a link to the video in the description. But he did an interview with Juror 11. And of course, people are outraged about that. They're still coming from her being absolutely rude and disgusting for no reason. Just like this person. They say, Juror 11 says she feels sorry for Officer John O'Keefe's family. She says she doesn't deserve the harassment because she's been getting a lot of harassment. She says she is a good person who just wanted her to do her civic duty, but she is currently on live with a domestic terrorist who has been the key person responsible for continuing to harm the O'Keefe family and everyone they love. I feel sick. And the domestic terrorist, they're saying, being Aiden Kearney or Turtle Boy, which is a wild statement in and of itself. And again, I think it's interesting to see a lot of people who think Karen Read was guilty comment on the second trial. As you guys know, I did not watch the second trial. So many of you who found this channel didn't watch the first trial, either. Right? And in not watching the first trial, one would think that someone who watched the first trial, you would say, well, if the Commonwealth did their job and they proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Karen was guilty, what was the issue? Why are we here? Why wasn't there a verdict the first time? Why did we have a hung jury to begin with? So, fool me once, as they say. If we're going through this again, and now we have a jury that says, guys, you didn't prove your case. We're not even considering murder or leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death because it doesn't make any sense. We're just here talking about the OUI because we don't know if Karen was drunk or not. It's very clear to see that the Commonwealth not only once but twice did not prove their case. So this outrage for one juror who's basically speaking out when others really haven't and saying, this is how we felt, this is what we saw. We didn't really have to question a lot of the other things because the evidence didn't show it. It's just a shame. It's just a shame. And I'm not going to read a lot of these comments on this one because this person who posted this is just going on and on about Aiden being a domestic terrorist, which is absolutely insane. Let's go ahead and get into actually hearing from Juror 11 because she did have something to say about what was going on during deliberations and how she felt the proceedings went in general. Y'all check this out.
Okay, it is time. I am joined by Paula Prado, one of the 12 jurors in the Karen Read retrial of this century. Paula, thank you so much for joining us tonight. First of all, are you feeling okay? This has been a lot. This has been a long process. You feeling okay tonight?
Yes, just a bit tired with everything that has been going on, especially today, but I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so we appreciate that. Let me ask you, first of all, not guilty or factually innocent? In your mind tonight, not guilty meaning prosecutors didn't prove it, that's the standard in our courtrooms, we understand. Do you believe that she was just not proven guilty, or do you believe she was factually innocent, meaning you are convinced she had nothing to do with the death of John O'Keefe?
Not guilty and innocent. In my personal opinion, she is innocent. I can't see his death being caused by a collision. I'm not sure if a collision happened. I've mentioned before that maybe she touched him, maybe she backed up a little fast and hit a curb or got too close to him and he had to step away or something. But I don't think her car pushed John O'Keefe to death, that pushed him away and made him hit his head on the floor and kill him. So not guilty and innocent.
Not to mention, again, they didn't show that. And she's saying she didn't feel like it, but the evidence didn't show that either, which is why we had an issue the first trial and why we had an issue this trial. Because they did nothing other than a little blue paint and one test that Hank Brennan himself said wasn't important. That's all we had from the Commonwealth to say, yeah, you know, John got hit. This is our theory. Come on, guys.
And you just mentioned one potential theory there. Is that what you think may have happened here to John O'Keefe? What are your thoughts about how John O'Keefe could have ended up dead on the yard of 34 Fairview?
Yeah, again, it's a theory. The same way I couldn't prove that Karen Reed was guilty, I can't prove what happened inside that house, what happened that night. But I do believe that because of the amount of alcohol both of them had, John O'Keefe had more to drink than Karen. Maybe when he left the car, she could back up too fast and touch him, and that could be an explanation for him to lose his shoes or for his phone to fall down and get in pocket state, which was something that the data showed us. But in my opinion, he got up and he went inside the house with or without shoes. I don't know when he lost his shoes eventually, but I don't think he died outside. I think something happened inside the house and he was placed outside.
And
dang, she said he was placed outside. Oh, we're gonna hear from Alessi in another video where he says something very similar, and they're even gonna show a little bit of evidence that may point to that. She said she would. Ooh.
Something happened inside the house, and he was placed outside.
And do you have a? Because it's not clear, and the defense was talking about the garage. In the first trial, they talked about the basement. Do you have any idea where in the house he may have gone, and why do you think that?
Assuming that a lot of the witnesses that was in the house that night didn't see him, all the Bryan, his friends, the people who are celebrating his birthday, assuming that none of them saw him, so maybe he went inside the house through the garage. And during trial, there was a moment with a picture of the garage that was hidden from us. We had to leave the courtroom and then come back, and we don't know why the garage door has to be blurred for us. I don't know why we can see pictures from inside the garage or having an idea how the inside the garage look. But I remember in one of the witnesses, the last one, Dr. La Posada, she mentioned that he saw pictures of a real estate agency of the garage inside, but was objected, and we didn't hear from her what was inside the garage. But raised doubts, raised questions.
So just the fact that there was a question about it, so what was your interpretation of why you weren't allowed to see it? Like, what's the impact of that on you? That's something I'm always very curious about, when there's a piece of evidence that one side wants in, and then all of a sudden you're not allowed to see it. What did you take away from that?
It becomes suspicious. If there is something over there that the Commonwealth didn't want us to see, it's because it could be something beneficial to Karen Reed. And what could be beneficial for Karen Reed regarding a garage door or a picture of inside the garage coming from a real estate? I don't know, but I think that was a question for a lot of us.
Fascinating. Yep. How quickly did the entire jury agree that there wasn't a collision?
Right away. Say right away.
I cannot count Friday as a day we actually start deliberating. On Friday was just more as everybody just want to talk, because we've been silenced about this case for so long, and we really want to just put it out our impressions, what we think about the trial, this evidence, X, Y, and Z. So it was very chaotic. But Monday we start to be more organized, and checking the witnesses and checking our notebooks, what one juror had written, what I did, and what other did, so we can check facts and see and remember everything that we heard and saw it. There were people who didn't believe Karen Reed killed him, and there was also, I would say, 30% that was like in the fence, and there were two people who want to think she was guilty, and we had to talk through it.
And how long did it take to talk through it for everyone to agree that, hey, this wasn't a collision, now we've got to talk about the operating under the influence charge?
The next 3 days, pretty much.
Okay,
whole Monday, whole Tuesday, we are going through it.
Okay, I didn't know if you had reached it on one and then we're just focused on the other, but it was a continuing conversation.
That is interesting. So shout out to juror number 11. This isn't the last time we're going to hear from her, I'm sure. Again, I'll leave the links to the other videos that I mentioned in the description. Let me know what y'all think about this, because it's interesting to hear how there were a few of them that thought Karen Reed was actually guilty. And I think one, it was mentioned that she was a physical trainer or something like that. And she said she initially came into it not knowing anything about the case. I think Amy mentioned this, not knowing about the case, not knowing what was going on. And as the case went along, she thought Karen Reed was guilty, then got towards the end and she changed her mind. Hopefully we'll get to hear from her. And we've got in the next video, we're actually going to hear from a witness that didn't want their identity to be revealed. We're going to see what she has to say about this deliberations too. Let me know what y'all think in the comments in the chat. All right, I see y'all in here showing some love, man. Shout out to the gang. We've got nearly 3,000 of you in the building. Wow. And thank you to everyone who is showing love in here. My goodness. Shout out to y'all with the super chats too. Thank you to everyone who's liked the video. My guy, Dr. EJ's in the building. Shout out to Dr. EJ gifting 10 memberships. If you got a membership from Dr. EJ, make sure you say thank you. Always in here showing love and reminding y'all to like the video too. Shout out to Dr. EJ. We've got Slim Life in here gifted a membership too. If you got that membership from Slim Life, there's only one of you. You know who you are. Make sure that you say thank you. All right. Let me see what else y'all are saying in the chat, because boy, I feel bad for juror number 11. She's just going out there and she's a regular person, guys. What do you have to be qualified to be a juror? I was going back and forth with somebody on X about this. They're like, oh, the jury should be full of smart people. You know, you should have to go through a certain thing to be on the jury. Jurors should be smart. I mean, if you don't like the system, change the system. And this seems like a well-educated, common sense person to me. But again, I don't know. I could be seeing it the wrong way. Let me see. Shout out to Dr. EJ. She's isn't she a lawyer? I think she's a lawyer in training. Let me see. What was difficult? 200% no collision, 100% bitten by a dog. Evidence against the McAlberts would see a jury convict them. Apparently, the foreman remembered all the evidence despite not taking notes. I'd love to hear from him. That's a great point. Paula said there was no pressure from the jurors. They just went through the evidence. My husband was wrestling with our dog and his arm looked just like John O'Keefe's after he was bitten by the dog. Same puncture, top of the arm, not the bottom. That's so strange. I would love to see somebody recreate that too. Maybe a dog trainer could do it in some way. Just disgusting how the Karen Reed haters are threatening, saying vile things of her children, doxing the jurors and witnesses. Paula is getting her phone blown up. I hope changes will happen. It's really sad to see that this woman who was just doing her civic duty showed up is getting so much hate. Wasn't she an attorney in Brazil or something? Yeah, I believe she's an attorney in training. I don't know if she's an actual attorney in Brazil. Y'all have to do that. Yeah, and shout out to Dr. EJ for helping out and dropping the reminding y'all to like the video too, because we got a ton of you in here. She's a Brazilian lawyer, but not since moving to the USA. Okay. And I think she's only been in the USA since last year. Melanie Little talked about this with Garrett a long time ago when Julie Grant tried her madness. She is an attorney in Brazil. Okay. She's a Brazilian lawyer and has an MBA in the US. She doesn't practice here. I mean, okay. Yeah. If I was in Brazil and I needed an attorney, I would call her up. And to thank you again. Shout out to Dr. EJ for showing love. All right. We've got another topic to get into because, as I mentioned to y'all, there is a juror that is speaking out, but decided to remain anonymous. So we're going to hear from that juror coming up next, as well as we're going to hear from Alessi and Yannetti and what they felt about all this madness that's going on with this trial. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we've got another juror is speaking out, not too long of an interview, but basically saying how they felt about the court proceedings, what happened during deliberations, and what they actually saw. Then we're going to get into a transcript from an interview from juror 11, where she breaks down a little bit more of her experience on the jury. Here we go.
Everybody in that room was very smart and very committed to telling their story. Another juror from the Karen Reed murder retrial coming forward tonight, speaking only with NBC Boston. During our sit-down interview, she explains the process of coming to that decision that Reed was not guilty of killing her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe.
Not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman.
This jury member in the Karen Reed retrial says she'll never forget this sound.
Yeah, that was wild.
The crowd outside the courthouse in Dedham last Wednesday erupting after the verdict. Reed found not guilty of murder.
It was overwhelming. There was so much grief and so much joy in that moment, and you really felt the weight of everything that we had done that day.
The juror wanted to remain anonymous. In fact, she says at first she didn't even want to be seated on the jury.
I love my job. I didn't want to not be there for a long time. Also, it's a huge case that everyone has really made their mind up on.
But this juror didn't, she says, until deliberations started more than a week ago after closing arguments.
Everybody in that room was very smart and very committed to telling their story and their version of the story, which more than anything led me to walk into that jury room with no opinion.
After about 2 months of being on the jury together without being able to share an opinion.
I think we started making a lot more progress when I got like huge poster board paper and then worked with other members of the jury to write down the definition of every
That's a lot of
charge.
pressure.
At the end of the day, this was an absolute tragedy for the O'Keefe family, and I hope that they find justice.
Dang.
And by the way, you can find much more.
Yeah, and that I shout out to that juror for saying that, because it keeps getting a lot of the theatrics and everything that happened during this trial kind of got pushed to the side. Well, John O'Keefe's death kind of got pushed to the side through this, because we've got the Alberts and the McCabe's on one side and trying to figure out what's going on there, who's hiding something, because clearly someone's not telling the total truth there. And then you've got Karen Reed on the other side fighting for her life and for her true innocence. It's unfortunate to see this play out, because John O'Keefe, I don't even want to say it, but I just feel bad for his family, his mother, his father, because I don't know if they'll be able to see justice after this. Because again, the Commonwealth showed that Karen Reed was innocent just on their case alone. But let's go ahead and hear a little snippet, as I mentioned to you guys before, from this interview that Runkle of the Bailey did. I'll leave a link to that full interview in the description for y'all as well. I found this over on X, and you've got Bob Alessi is in here talking about something they noticed during the trial and saw in the evidence. Here we go.
I'll tell you quickly, my piece of evidence that's on the top of my list is the alternative theory as to what happened, namely that Mr. O'Keefe was not injured and was not killed at where he was located. That was someplace else, and we had solid medical and other evidence, and we were not allowed to proffer even the evidence, let alone push the theory. And, you know, isn't that a fundamental Sixth Amendment right, your constitutional right to a defense? Inherent in your constitutional right to a defense is the ability to put forth an alternative theory to that of the prosecution. And we had tremendous evidence backed by facts, backed by experts, and we were not allowed to go there. I wasn't even allowed to go there in my cross-examination of Dr. Scorty Bello, the medical examiner, who couldn't determine the manner of death.
Yes, exactly. And then we saw Dr. La Posada come in and say, hypothermia. No. It wasn't. It was not hypothermia. The cause of death was not hypothermia. Not to mention, as you heard Alessi say here, they had so much trouble getting that alternate theory in here. There was evidence to back up what the alternate theory was. And you guys are going to find this interesting. We're going to show in another video, once we get to this comment in the official statement from Hank Brennan, he said something very funny. And that is that we were going to let the evidence show what really happened. We're just going to follow the evidence, and where the evidence takes us, that's where we're going to go. Sir, if that's how you feel about this case, then it should have been dropped 2 years ago. But that's a story for another day.
So why then wasn't it a minimum that I could pursue those questions and I was not allowed to do so? That I think was an unfortunate situation, but that stuck out for me.
Yep. And let's again shout out to both of them, and shout out to Runkle of the Bailey, Ian Runkle. I'm going to leave a link to that full interview for you guys in the description as well. But let's see what happened here, because we've got some more insight from Juror 11 and some great questions that were asked by Jessica M. I'm saying M because I'm going to mess up her last name. And we already heard some of this information, like, did you feel the judge favored either side in the trial? Who was the most memorable witness of the trial? Did you believe the jurors, the injuries on John O'Keefe's arm were caused by a dog? But I do want to get into a couple of these questions, like this one here from juror number 11, who is Paula. Did you know that the ARCA witnesses were first contacted by the FBI? Paula says, no, I only assumed it was the FBI after one of the witnesses before ARCA mentioned another agency. Interesting. And they also say, what did you think of the video clips of Karen speaking in those documentaries? Paula says, I think she wanted to speak her truth without having to go on the stand. Those interviews gave her better control of the narrative. Great point. I also think it was a strategic move by her defense. Her alcohol use was an undeniable fact, that's for sure. It was better for her to address it herself. That's a great take on that. I haven't actually heard that. And it's funny because the funny thing is, you guys remember once the jury started deliberating, we had this big emergency live stream, right? And we thought they were going to have a verdict, but they actually came back and they asked the judge 3 questions. One of those 3 questions was, are the video clips that were played during the trial allowed to be used or taken as evidence? Obviously, Judge Beverly Cannoni said yes. And if I'm reading what Paula is saying here correctly, she said those interviews actually helped Karen Reed's case because it showed, yes, she was an alcoholic, but no, she didn't. She wouldn't want to murder or hit John. The funny thing about that is those clips were shown by the Commonwealth. So again, that's just Hank putting another nail in his own coffin. Absolutely wild to see. Interesting take from her. Did you feel like convicting Karen Reed of the OUI was the right thing, or did you feel like you had to convict her of something? And Paula says, absolutely not. The OUI was the only charge I strongly believe the Commonwealth proved. We agreed. Well, some of us agreed here. She said it in several interviews. I was buzzed. I shouldn't have driven. My alertness wasn't where it should have been. Once we determined the videos were admissible, I couldn't ignore that charge. And y'all wanted to fight me on this so much. If you don't believe me, y'all can check the receipts. Go back and watch the live stream we did the last day they were deliberating. We had an 1.5 hour conversation back and forth about this. And y'all were wrong. But that's okay. I still love y'all. What witnesses did you trust the most? I trusted the forensic scientists from Massachusetts State Police Lab, like Maureen Hartlett and Tess Chart. They worked with what they were given. I also believe Dr. La Posada and Isaac Wolf were extremely knowledgeable and stated their findings truthfully. Dr. Wolf was probably my favorite witness of all. I want to meet that guy in person. What witness did you trust the least? Officer Kelly Dever. Oh, Officer Dever. Y'all remember her? Her behavior in court made me question whether it's safe for someone who acts like this to be carrying a gun amongst civilians. Again, this is Paula, guys. She's making a lot of sense. Officer Dever. Not to mention, you guys remember Kelly? Of course you remember. Kelly Dever was on the stand. She said, hey, listen, I had to get up here and tell this story. Otherwise, I was going to lose my job. So I totally understand why she would trust that witness the least. That is insane that someone would say that on the stand. How hard was it for you to be a part of this jury for so long? How were you able to do it every day? I don't want to hear about it. I did it too. No, it's not a big deal. What's something you would want everyone to know about this case or trial? This is a great question. I think I'd want to speak directly to the O'Keefe family. I was the juror who left the courtroom in tears. And it wasn't because justice had been served for Karen Read, though I was happy for her and her family. I cried for Mrs. O'Keefe, Paul, and everyone in John's family. Dang, they did not get the justice they deserve. I understand they might not want to hear from any of us, but I want to make it clear that our duty was only to determine whether there was reasonable doubt. If there's any chance that Karen Read was responsible for John's death, then the blame lies with the sloppy investigation that made it impossible to connect her to this tragic passing. We didn't fail the O'Keefes. The Commonwealth did. The police did. Personally, I believe she is 100% innocent, but even for those jurors who still had doubts, none of us could say beyond a reasonable doubt that she did. Wow. To Karen Read's supporters and advocates, please keep pursuing the DA, keep standing against corruption, and above all, I hope we can still achieve justice for John O'Keefe. Shout out to Paula. Y'all put some respect on juror number 11's name. She said what we've been saying this entire time. Amazing. Very well said. Very, very well said. Let's keep it moving. Got one last thing I want to show y'all. This is going to be, finally, some of Karen Read's family, other than her father, is speaking out, and we're going to hear from Karen Read's brother on what he thought about the verdict.
The toughest
There we go.
I knew from the beginning is seeing my sister drag through the mud, that she did this when we knew from the beginning she didn't.
Shout out to Paula, man.
6, he was by her side for the whole retrial. And now Karen Read's brother, Nathan, is speaking out about the verdict. Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Darren Vitello. So Nathan Read is also discussing the impact this case had on his family and what's next. NBC 10's Jeff Saperstone has the exclusive one-on-one interview.
That's dope. Shout out to
not
Nathan.
guilty? Not guilty.
What was your reaction on Wednesday when the verdict was read?
Elation. Yeah. Celebration.
Nathan Read opening up days after his sister Karen was acquitted in the murder of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. He was in the courtroom when the not guilty verdict was read.
We heard the crowd just explode outside. It just reverberated through the building and through that courtroom. It's a sound and a feeling I will never forget.
Nathan sat down with NBC 10 Boston. He has been by his sister's side through both trials. What was the difference maker?
I think we ran a tighter case. And I think the Commonwealth did too, by the way.
He says a younger jury may have also helped this time around, but both cases capturing worldwide attention, something Nathan says he was surprised at first.
When social media got involved and when some of the YouTubers got involved, that really changed. And I think it also woke up this area, both
Shout out to the YouTubers.
to mainstream media,
Shout out
but
to
also
Turtle
to
Boy.
our supporters.
Nathan tells us the last 3.5 years have taken a toll.
The toughest part for me is seeing my sister drag through the mud, that she did this when we knew from the beginning she didn't.
Do you think you'll ever have answers as to what happened?
I question that. I struggle with that. I think our family has to make peace with the idea that we may never.
And while Wednesday's verdict was a relief for the Read family, Nathan expressed sympathy for the O'Keefes.
Karen can be not guilty and factually innocent. And we can still feel for that family and what their losses are.
And as for what's next, Nathan says he doesn't think his sister will return to teaching or finance. He says life will be different.
So she's earned, in my opinion, whatever she wants to do. What she's going to do, I don't know. She, there's been a lot of hugs. There's been a lot of tears. Those emotions are coming out now.
Yeah.
But we'll support her and we love her. And she's just relieved. And we're elated for that.
Jeff Saperstone, NBC 10 Boston.
Yep, and shout out again to Karen Read. Jury made the right decision, and it was easy to see. Commonwealth, can we all agree that we need to find the killer, whoever you think it is? We need to find and figure out what happened to John O'Keefe. The evidence is there, as you heard from Yannetti, as Alessi would go on to say later. The evidence is there, and they have the ability to figure out what happened to this man. You just have to be willing and have to want to do it. Hopefully they'll make the right decision. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. Man, is there really 3,500 of y'all in here? Good Lord. We got 3,700 people in this live stream. This is probably one of the biggest live streams we've done. Definitely one of the biggest ones we've done this year. Thank y'all so much for being here. Guys, I don't ask for much on this channel. I do ask and beg and plead you all to like the video, please. It takes less than a second and it's free, guys. I mean, come on, you're already here. Might as well tap that like button. It's not gonna hurt, I promise. FBI needs to step in, y'all are saying. They should, but they won't, unfortunately. Dang, I hope you're wrong. Is most of the evidence not gone by now? Well, that's a great point because the garage isn't there. So there's no way of knowing. They weren't able to swab John O'Keefe for DNA. So there's that part. There's so much about this that is wrong. It's sad. Love seeing the channel and the community grow. Shout out to everybody that's in here. Cash Patel is corrupt and doesn't care about corruption. Oh, y'all are talking about the FBI. Oh, man, leave Cash alone, man. Dr. Wolf's family was threatened the first trial. Are you serious? How could you threaten a man that's out here doing so much good? Dr. Wolf is top tier. A top tier clinician. I have so much respect for that guy. I don't even think they'll ever have enough evidence unless someone tells the truth. They might catch him. Maybe somebody will just decide they can't live with themselves. I think if it were to be anybody, it would be Nikki. Nikki feels like, I don't know, just from watching that interview, Nikki seems like she would be the one to crack. The truth hurts. Have you seen the picture of the garage with the spilled paint? Yep. Deathbed Confessions of Brian Higgins. Oh, man. Y'all think it's Higgins? All right. Let me know in the chat. I want to hear all the conspiracy theories. And really, I don't know. Are they conspiracy theories? Because Karen Reed's found not guilty. So that means somebody else is, right? Circumstantial evidence and private investigation coupled with whatever the FBI uncovered. I think they have something there. Oh, Amy says do a poll, but it would be hard to do that because I would have to make up the scenarios. All right, let me know what. Anything's possible. So let's say hold on a second. Who is guilty of John's death? Murder. All right, y'all are saying Higgins. So I'll put that one in there. So we've got Higgins. I know y'all are going to say Colin, right? Colin's going to be another name. I know that's two names. Who else do y'all have? We got Hilbert, Higgins, the McAlberts. Yep, I got Colin in there. We've got, I see a lot of Higgins in there, man. Chloe. No, y'all think Chloe did? Oh, so what you think? So what's the theory behind that? I'll put Chloe in there. We're not going to blame the dog though. Chloe attacked him. He was drunk. He fell, hit his head. Is that what y'all are saying? And Amy says the last one should be a team effort. And in parentheses, I'll say who was in on it. So if you think it was a team effort, you got to tell me who you think was in on it. All right. Shout out to Amy for making that poll possible. And then we'll look at the results here shortly. Honestly, if he was found in the snow without those arm injuries, I think maybe he got beat up and tried to leave, but fell in the snow and passed out, but not with those injuries. And somebody said something interesting. Did Jennifer McCabe, because I don't remember this and y'all can tell me, did Jennifer McCabe in the 911 phone call say that they found John O'Keefe on his face and they rolled him over? Did you guys see that? I want to look it up and go find it. I will at some point. Actually, I'll look it up and maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow, unless somebody else finds it. But did Jennifer McCabe say that they had to roll him over? That's wild. With that being the case, I don't know if the jury caught it or not. We haven't heard anybody talk about that specifically, but if that's the case, that is insane. Y'all are saying, yes, that's what happened. She said they rolled him over, but I think they rolled him over on his side. Ugh, still not a great look. And you heard Paula say, juror number 11 said, we think he was moved. It seemed like he was moved. It seems like it seems like he wasn't there. She said they flipped him over. Yeah, rolling someone over on his side and flipping them over is two different things. I don't think the McAlberts would be so defensive unless one of them was involved. I don't think it was just Higgins. And again, see, this is a weird thing. It's like an episode of Scooby-Doo because they all could just be hiding minor details and not be involved at all. What if it is Higgins, right? What if Jennifer McCabe really didn't have anything to do with it other than she knew something happened to John and he was moved, right? What if that was it? And then she wanted to know how long it would take for him to die in the cold. What if Carrie, she didn't know anything about it. She knew John fell, but she didn't know he was mortally wounded. Accessories. Yeah. What if they're just all accessories and the real murderer is, like y'all are saying, Higgins or Chloe or even Colin? I don't know. This is wild. Shout out to Lisa Paxton in here with the 5-bomb. Says, I don't think a conviction could ever be obtained on someone. A good defense attorney will point out Karen had to be tried twice. More reasonable doubt. I don't. They would have to have video of however John died. I did hear Jen saying they had to roll John over. All I know is John wasn't hit by a car. That's pretty evident. Higgins is the attacker and the Alberts helped him move. Well, so far it's looking like that's the case because nearly half of you are saying that it was Higgins. It looks like close to 40% of you are saying it was a team effort. I want to hear these theories, guys, and I'm going to read some of them as we go into this next topic because I know this is what y'all are wanting to see. This is the actual breaking news today because y'all's favorite guy, your favorite prosecutor or your favorite defense attorney turned prosecutor finally spoke out today. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And this is going to be, oh, I'm going to try and keep it together, guys, when I go through and read this, but this is going to be insane if you haven't seen yet. And let me go ahead and get into it. Thank y'all again to everyone that's liked the video. I got to shout out. Thank you to all 2,000 plus of you that have liked the video. Again, guys, I'm going to keep begging. I do not care. I'm going to beg for likes. They're free. It takes less than a second. You just like the video. If you're watching on the computer, most of you are not. Just click the like button, guys. We're having a great time in here, having a conversation. Let me double check and make sure I didn't miss any super chats because y'all know I'd be missing them sometimes. Yep, I sure did. Rassler's mom is in here with the 5-bomb. Says Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Colin. But the group that did that interview are the ones who are in the group chat. All of those people are involved. True. Not to mention, this was the thing that was probably the strangest out of this entire trial to me. You guys remember Peggy met with Carrie and Jennifer McCabe to get the timeline together? And then she was shaming Karen for showing up to the hospital and said, why is she here? Y'all remember that? That was one of the weirdest things out of this entire trial I think I heard. It's almost like Peggy sat them down and said, okay, what happened here? Who did it? What's going on? Like a mob boss. All right, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to tell them. This is his mother. Man, when I heard that, I was like, oh no, we gotta, nope. Something's not right. Something's not right. Man. All right. I know y'all want to get to see. I know y'all want to see what Hank said. So what we're going to do is, before I get into the news about what happened with Hank Brennan giving his official statement, I want to do a little bit of a rewind and show you guys just a quick snippet of one of my favorite moments from the trial. And this is from the time when the prosecution, namely Hank Brennan, was up at the witness stand showing the back of John O'Keefe's hoodie. And he was pointing out the fact that there were holes in this hoodie. Obviously, not okay. The defense had a motion for a mistrial, which was, of course, denied by Judge Beverly Cannoni. But it's funny to hear how Hank had this to say during that instance.
Your Honor, my brief review of the lab paperwork and looking at the hoodie, it appears that I made a mistake.
Should I play a little bit more, or should I stop?
And so I think what should happen is there should be a curative instruction. There should be a stipulation. The court should instruct the jury that during Mr. Brennan's cross-examination, he asked Dr. Wolf about holes on the sweatshirt or holes on the back of Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt.
This is terrible.
And the parties agreed.
All right, that's enough from you, guy. What are you talking about? I made a mistake. Hey, my bad. So here's the official statement, finally, from Hank Brennan after his major L in the second trial. Boy, should I get the sad music going for this one? Hank Brennan says, "I'm disappointed in the verdict and the fact we could not achieve justice for John O'Keefe and his family. District Attorney Michael Morrissey appointed me, giving me full discretion to independently assess the case and follow the evidence no matter where it led. After an independent and thorough review of all the evidence, I concluded that the evidence led to one person and one person only." Well, that's not the case. Neither the closed federal investigation nor my independent review led me to identify any other possible suspect or person responsible for John O'Keefe's death. He's doubling down, guys. The campaign of intimidation and abuse that has been waged, funded, and promoted in public and on social media by that guy ClassE, Turtle Boy, all of them, is an antithesis of justice. How can we have justice when people are on YouTube making videos and the jury's up there watching them? How? If this type of conduct becomes commonplace, it will threaten the integrity of our judicial system, affecting both victims and criminally accused. We cannot condone witness abuse, causing participants to worry about their own safety or that of their families. It is my hope that with the verdict, the witnesses and their families will be left alone. The harassment of these innocent victims and family members is deplorable and should never happen again in a case in this Commonwealth. My heartfelt condolences to the O'Keefe family and faith that over the coming years, they will find peace and closure. He said, hey guys, give it up. John, Peggy, Paul, get over it. We tried, we tried. I did my part and it didn't work out. So sorry, blame it on the bullies on the internet. Blame it on Turtle Boy. He was intimidating witnesses, guys, Forget the fact that we had an investigator who, maybe he rode around with some evidence in his car for a while. Who cares? Forget the red Solo cups. Forget the lack of ring camera footage. Forget the fact that the Commonwealth didn't go into the house. Guys, it's on the bloggers. It's on the YouTubers. And we must not allow them to do this. We can't give them free speech. It's terrible. This is the only reason this case didn't go that way. Because of witness intimidation. That is what it was. The campaign of intimidation and abuse. What is wrong with this guy? Okay, again, I hate to do this to you guys, but I know you guys. Shout out to Julie Grant. Julie Grant has been the wrongest of wrong throughout this entire trial of anyone I've ever seen. And of course, she's doubling down after reading and hearing this statement from Hank Brennan, and is going to give this brilliant attorney his flowers. If you just ate, you might want to pause the video and let your food digest for a second before you hear this. Here we go.
Hank Brennan, what a brilliant attorney and crusader for justice. He deserves to be highly commended for his courage and the masterful job he did seeking justice for John O'Keefe.
Ow! Just try, guys. Just hang in there. It's going to be okay.
Let's bring in our power panel to get some reaction to Hank Brennan's statement. I want to welcome in John DePietro. He covered the show start to finish. He's a nationally known radio host and the creator of Road Patrol Live. Also, we've got former prosecuting attorney Tommy Pope, famously put away Susan Smith. He's in the private sector now, also a state lawmaker in South Carolina. And we have high-profile criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Mario Gallucci with us from New York. Good morning to you all. Let's get your reactions, please, to Hank Brennan's statement. I just want to kind of go around the room here and get your thoughts on what he had to say after this verdict. John, let me begin with you, please.
You know, Julie, and obviously that's the first time I'm seeing it. Everyone else is seeing it. I'm very glad he put it out. He did as good a job as anyone could, do. I'm glad he talked about the exhaustive efforts he went to, that he felt it all led to one person. But this also comes back to, I'm glad he also touched on how these witnesses, and they're coming under fire, and anyone that's talking and speaking out is coming under fire. And I also want to caution people right now, there are people, it's very dangerous rhetoric that's out there of we have to search for the real killers. And I know we're going to talk about that juror interview that Vinny did. And I find actually a lot of things she's saying very troubling.
Man, stop, John. Stop it. One thing I've noticed about people who are on the other side of this, who are on the Commonwealth side of this trial, is there is zero focus on the evidence. They want to focus on bullying. They want to focus on intimidation. Can we just focus on the evidence? That's what we did here during this entire trial over the 30 plus days that we were covering this. We focused on the evidence. You have the burden of proof, sir. You have to prove that. The one witness you had, the one test that you showed, you admitted, was not meant to prove that there was a collision. You had this back and forth with Dr. Wolf. And you said, well, you looked at the report. You looked at the report from Aperture. You saw Shannon Burgess. You saw what he had going on. You saw Dr. Welsher, excuse me. You saw the report they put together. Did you see anything in there that said they were using the blue paint to show that there was a collision and that John O'Keefe was involved in the collision? Dr. Wolf said, actually, I think about it. No, they didn't. And Hank said, aha! See? They weren't even doing that to show there was a collision. So why are we here? We already showed that the text stream data didn't show that there was a collision. AJ asked so many times, is there any instance in this data that shows that there was a collision? Every witness said no. What? Every medical witness that you called, they said there was no evidence to show that there was a collision. How? What are we doing here?
Keeps bringing it back to the house. And
where's the evidence?
She's mentioning, Nicole Albert and Brian Albert. And we need to find out this is all dangerous rhetoric. Hank Brennan put together a solid case. He actually, to me, proved his case. You even have the juror saying, I think she touched him, which to me is the new spin of Karen saying, you know, I didn't hit him. Now you have a juror saying, I think she may have like touched him, but not hit him.
This is crazy, guys.
That must be very difficult. Hank Brennan, it should be head held high. He knew what was on, you know, what was at stake here. And I think people really need to just finally really understand there's a lot at stake here, the way this whole thing went down and how the other side, the Karen Reed side, is actually reacting, celebrating, and just their general demeanor right now. It's very, very damaging.
Julie looks like she's about to puke. What is wrong with these people? How can a reasonable person look at this, look at the Commonwealth's case alone and say they proved their case? This is
and
so
not
sad,
to the system.
Right, John. Hank Brennan, I've said it before, I'll say it again. He's a hero. He's a hero for those victims. He fought the good fight. It's not easy to do what he did. And John, I'm glad you mentioned juror number 11 speaking with Court TV. She spoke with Vinnie Politan the other night. Let's take a listen to some of what she said about the taillight evidence.
The theory I have, like, if she back up and maybe hit something, a curb or him, or some people in the jury raised the question, maybe he was mad and he could have thrown the glass on the tail light and break it. 34 Fairview and the police department is very close. It was time enough for someone to just show up and drop a piece of tail light at the scene.
What did you think of the...
She's allowed to have the theory.
So that just was a little bit of a clip of it. Tommy Pope, let me go to you next, please. Your reaction to Hank Brennan's statement, please.
I thought Hank was spot on. I think it was a slip of the tongue, Julie, but when you had introduced John, you said he covered the show from beginning to end, and that's what it was. And I think what concerns me, I mean, we see this in high-profile cases, but it normally takes place outside the courtroom. This somehow invaded the courtroom, and I mean, I think Hank was spot on. You've got to respect the jury and their decision-making because we're all part of the system, and if we quit respecting the jury, the system fails. So he's spot on with that, but I like what he went on to say, because I really think it's terrifying that you can orchestrate and get these crowds out front, because the fact that the jurors started with the, you know, because they never really hit the conspiracy thing like they did the first trial, but the fact that
guys, I hear a bunch of talking. Where's the evidence? We had John do whatever his name is saying, oh, well, you know, the evidence showed that he was hit. Where? Where's the evidence? Why are we continuing to put this on the people who were standing outside supporting someone? You have one job, sir. Hank Brennan, Hank the hero. Ugh. Hank the hero had one job and he failed. He failed. Show how John O'Keefe was murdered by Karen Reed. He couldn't do that. Come on, man.
Juror just said, well, somebody from the police station could have brought it over there. That tells me she's hearing the rhetoric that has been ginned up outside the courtroom. I'm not saying during the trial necessarily, but somehow it just surprises me you would find that independently. If that's the case, you know, then she believes everybody in every case, you know, they ginned up the speeding charge, they ginned up everything. And so it's this verdict, I respect it too, but it's sickening. And you know, the little signals and the smiles and the laughs. A man is dead, and I'm pretty sure this drunk lady caused it. Whether she did it intentionally or not, she did it. But now she's going to end up being a social media star or a reality star, and a family's left to suffer. So I'm with you, Julie. God bless the family going through another trial, but you know, the burden's different in a civil case. And I mean, just the video we're seeing now, I mean, it's ridiculous, but they won.
The fact that they're bringing up the civil case just goes to me to show that they really just want to see Karen suffer. And this is so weird. And this is why I think platforms like this are important. Platforms like what other people have out there, like Turtle Boy has, because on this platform, we reviewed the evidence. We looked at it as someone who would be on the jury. And you've got these legal folks who are saying, oh, well, you know, you pick this apart and you take this piece and you look at this and you find this here. And we're not doing that. We're just looking at the evidence as it was presented. Things aren't fitting together. It's not making sense. And we say, Something's not adding up here, guys. You got to do a better job. It's not that hard. They bring up a civil case to where John O'Keefe's family is trying to get $50 million. Okay, they might get it. And then what? You guys going to be happy like, yeah, justice for John O'Keefe? No. Blame the Commonwealth, as was said before. Blame Hank the hero.
And so they get the benefit of enjoying it.
Tommy, I love your analysis. Especially appreciate the part where you said this campaign invaded the courtroom. You know, we talk a lot about the circus outside, the charade, you know, how that can't affect what goes on in the jury process. And there's a big question. I'm in agreement with you, Tommy. A big question as to whether this jury was tainted, whether that pool was tainted from the outset because of what's gone on in this community. Mario Gallucci, last but certainly not least here on our power panel, want to get your reaction to Hank Brennan's statement and your thoughts, please.
So I agree with everybody on the panel. This is typical gaslighting. You brought this up last week in your opening statement, and this is going on more and more in these high-profile cases. The use of social media is increased. The fact that we are now having to address social media, it's going right into what I do for jury selection now. I address social media right from the get-go, just to make sure that, you know, this doesn't interfere in the courtroom. I've tried cases that I've won that I was like, wow, what trial with this jury watching? And I've tried cases that I've lost and said the same thing. So you got to stand by the verdict. But, you know, more and more social media is playing a large, large role of what's going on in the courtroom.
All right.
Yeah. Well, welcome to 2025, guys. Again, if you guys hadn't botched, if the Commonwealth hadn't botched the first trial and there were so many issues there and they had made their case the first trial, we wouldn't have this issue. We wouldn't even be talking about this because we got to hear from a juror from the first trial. You know what he said? Oh, we didn't even know that we could tell them that she was not guilty on these other charges, or otherwise there would have been double jeopardy and she wouldn't have been tried for multiple charges, possibly 2 of the other charges. We would have been talking about manslaughter today. Garbage, man. Let me know what y'all think about this Hank's statement. I want to know what y'all think. Forget the power panel. What do you guys think as someone who would be and could possibly be a juror on a trial just like this? Did they get it right? Is Hank a hero? Was there justice for John O'Keefe's family? Let me know what you think, man. Wow. Thank you again to over the 3,500 of y'all that are in the building. Wow. What is going on over at Court TV? Julie, you got take the L, man. She said Hank was a... Oh. She said Hank is a hero for taking on this crappy case. I thought he lost a bet or something. It was not a circus. Jurors couldn't even hear us until after the verdict. Oh, Lori, were you out there? Shout out to Lori. Sounded like she was out there at the courtroom or at the courthouse. I think it was Higgins and Colin. Okay. Some of y'all are saying you think it was a group effort, a team effort. We saw the facts. They're upset because they need to answer questions of the public that funded them. Hey, you know what's a good way to avoid that? Stay unbiased. Oh, I spelled Chloe wrong. Shout out to Cole Scholl. It's French. Shout out to Scholl. My bad, Noah. That is why. Oh, I missed it. Man, this chat's moving fast. Hank is a hero leader on what planet? Eesh. On the planet of I was right, I guess, because they just want to be right. I think they got it right, but I agree that having a whole mob out there was too much. Get a job, people. Even Jackson had to yell at them so they could walk down the sidewalk. Listen, that channel from the start, they was again Karen special. That guy. Okay. Oof. Boy, that was rough. Hank probably knew Karen didn't do it, but he was there to collect some checks. Yep. I saw something that he earned over $100K by the end of February. Can only imagine how much he earned by the end of the trial. When the real killer of John O'Keefe is found and charged, Hank Brennan should be charged as an accomplice. Well, I think the Commonwealth first. We can't get mad at Hank for doing his job. And he could have said, I don't want to take this case because it's garbage. But at the end of the day, someone has to represent the Commonwealth. And if he thinks he has a good chance, it might as well be him. Hank, part of the mob lawyer. The investigation was botched intentionally from the start. John O'Keefe was never given justice by design. Hank got around 250. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Interesting that she has another take on the interviews. Many people felt it was a big mistake to let her do them, but it worked out for her. Kind of proves divine protection over her. Yeah, I agree. And I had never heard that take from Paula, where she said, I'm glad that Karen did the interviews because you got to see her say, hey, I was drinking, but I didn't hit John, and it maybe shined a different light. True. Too many lies. He should have, because at the jump, he said, I want to give Karen Reed a fair trial. Nothing he did was fair. I agree. Awesome channel with incredible mods. Oh, thank you for being here. Shout out to everyone who's stopping by for the first time. And thank you all for liking the video. Guys, likes are free. I'm going to beg throughout the entire show. You can take a second and like the video. Dang. It's free, guys. Justice for Sandra Birchmore. If y'all don't know what's going on with Sarah Birchmore, I did a video on it. I found about it for the first time, and it was really my reaction to finding out what happened in the Sarah Birchmore case in real time. And it is so sad. And it's happening right there in Canton. And it involves several of the police officers' names we heard in this case, which is crazy. Karen's honesty about drinking was a smart honesty about drinking was a smart move. Being honest is usually the best course. Usually. Well, yeah. On the legal side, it can be sometimes it can be you gotta be careful. Yeah, let's remember Sarah Birchmore. Court TV made its bread and butter with true crime fans, where all the cases the prosecutors were deemed correct, and TV shows like Law and Order, where law enforcement is always right. Well, there you go. I just subscribed. Thank you to everybody who's just subscribing. None of that is true. Jackson didn't yell at the crowd. Yeah, he did yell at the crowd when they're coming out. We watched the video. He said, hey, those cameras are heavy. Get them out of the way. Can y'all let us move? Back up. He was ready to get out of there. And this was before the verdict was reached, though. Thank you all for subscribing, too. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to pivot a little bit. And we're going to talk about something a little bit different, which might be our next trial that we cover. And a lot of y'all have heard about Bryan Kohberger. So if you haven't heard about him, to give you guys a little refresher, there were some college students who were partying it up. They were living in a house. They all went back to the house, wake up the next day. 4 out of the 5 of them were murdered, gone. And we just found out there was a sheath left to the alleged murder weapon. The 5th roommate that was there saw someone walking in the hall, closed and locked herself behind the door, and that was it. Now they found a sheath to the alleged weapon that was used in this crime, and that's where we left off last. So if you guys know, let's do it this way. And before we get into Bryan, I want to see what y'all said during this poll. 2,000 of you voted in this poll. Oh my gosh, how many people we got in here? This is crazy. Thank you to everybody that voted. So the question I asked was, who is guilty of John's murder? And let's see what we've got here. So it looks like 50, we'll start lowest to highest. So 4% of you said it was Chloe. I spelled Chloe wrong because y'all know how I be. 4% of you said it was Chloe. Okay. 12% of you said it was Colin. 33% of you said it was a team effort. And many of you mentioned in the chat who you thought was in on it. And then 50% of you, right at 50%, said it was Brian Higgins. Wow. Wow. Brian Higgins, really? I don't know, guys. I don't know. Why do do you guys think it was Brian Higgins just because he was looking like he wanted to square up at the waterfall? Y'all have to let me know. Higgins, I think it was Higgins. Honestly think an argument happened and the dog attacked the stranger. He fell backwards and hit his head. The criminal action is the cover up. In my humble opinion, Debbie, I agree. I bet that the 50% didn't see the doofus testify in the first trial. We watched part of Brian Higgins reading his text messages between him and Karen, and he said, you're hot. That was crazy. We probably should go back and watch it at some point, but just haven't got into it. Both Brian said two different things about where they went into the house. Yeah, didn't Allie say she saw John? What else? Also, quick note, I'm using voice to text, so misspell. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. We're good. Yes, I believe Higgins started it in the Alberts' home and things got out of control and others joined in. We know the rest. I really do think it was an accident, guys. Allie said Colin wasn't in the house when John was there. Higgins was trying to get his read on. Oh God. Hot. You're hot. You're hot. You're hot. I'm trying to say it right. All right, let's go ahead. If y'all are ready to get into it, let's see what is going on with Bryan Kohberger. So we got into the initial story, I should say, and we found out what happened in the house. They found the knife sheath, and now we're going to hear what happened with the DNA they got off of the actual knife sheath. This trial, if you haven't heard, is crazy. We're still learning about it here, and we're going to figure out what's going on together. Let's go.
Moscow police and the FBI were quietly investigating the DNA that was left behind on the knife sheath, and the public knew nothing about this. But there was a parallel investigation going on as well, based on something entirely different, and they definitely needed the public for that.
We started looking for video the day of the crime. Officers on scene had identified certain residences in the area that had video cameras.
Police were able to put together that they were looking for a particular vehicle.
A white car on the night of the murder is seen driving up and down the street, and then immediately after the murders, it's seen speeding away.
In this case, by looking at things such as the distance between headlights, the wheelbase, and some other dimensions that they can put against the video, they're able to determine the make and model of the vehicle.
It's a Hyundai Elantra from the years 2011 to 2016, and it's white. And the investigators put it out there.
They found CCTV footage of a white car driving near state lines headed toward Washington State University campus.
Yikes. Washington State University is in Pullman, Washington, and the two college towns, they're similar in many respects, and they're practically twin cities.
A Washington State University campus officer checked for white Elantras on campus and identified a white Hyundai Elantra at a certain apartment. The car was investigated and determined to belong to a graduate student there named Bryan Kohberger.
Oh, so Brian, he looks a lot older. So he was going to, he was a graduate student. He was going there. They all saying he was preying on some of the students. Oh, man. Looking good. Here we go.
Bryan Kohberger was a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University.
There you go.
Investigators made multiple inquiries about Kohberger and gathered some additional background information.
He was also a TA known for being an incredibly punitive grader. Everyone kind of hated him, especially the women in his classes. He had a tendency to, I think someone described it as like mansplaining.
Police also learned that he'd been involved in a traffic stop. It was a month earlier, and it was captured on the body camera of a WSU campus police officer.
Hello, I am Officer Loangus. Stops being audio and video recorded.
Kohberger is pulled over by a female police officer in Pullman, Washington for essentially running a red light. And what you see is somebody who's not intimidated to interact with a police officer in a somewhat exhaustive way.
You ran the red light.
What actually happened was I was stuck in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah,
so
I was behind you the whole time. Yeah.
He keeps repeating his position, which is that in the state he grew up in Pennsylvania, that's not a law.
In Pennsylvania, when you're stuck in the intersection, you have to make the left. So what would the appropriate thing for me to have done?
Not
just
You're not supposed to block an intersection like that in Washington, so just by you blocking the intersection, that's technically a ticketable violation.
He's not argumentative with her, but he maintains his position without ever coming around and saying, I shouldn't be getting this ticket.
But in that situation, the best thing to do then would be back up. Not.
I don't know if there's a best thing to do in that situation.
I mean, the best thing to do in that situation is not pull out into the intersection until you're ready to turn. So what? Okay, I think they're making a lot of something out of nothing here. We're gonna let it play and continue, but this is a conversation I've had with police officers before. It's like, okay, my bad. Next time, what am I supposed to do? And of course, a lot of police officers like this lady is like, I don't know. I mean, just obey the law. Have a good day, sir.
Has a level of cognitive rigidity. He's got a fixed idea about the situation, about what he didn't do wrong, and he's never able to really pivot from that.
Okay, come on now.
In Pennsylvania, we actually don't have crosswalks.
Oh. And even when she says she's going to let him go with a warning, he continues again to try and understand the situation, and what we see is somebody who's having a hard time disengaging.
Never even occurred to me that that was actually something wrong, but well, except for the fact
he didn't know how to be socially appropriate. So with Kohberger, what we know is that he probably had a hard time fitting in.
Because of that traffic stop in October, police in Pullman actually had Bryan Kohberger's cell phone number. They'd already pulled the cell phone tower data from the King Road area in Moscow from the night of the crime. And so even without getting a warrant, they were able to compare the last 4 digits of Kohberger's number with all the cell phone numbers that pinged on that tower from the time frame of the murder. But they came up empty. And this was really a major setback. And the investigators found themselves all the way back at square one.
Yeah, is there a crime?
He went on a Tinder date with a college student, and it was very, very bizarre. A woman came forward saying that they were watching a Netflix movie in her room, and then she was uncomfortable. She got up to go to the bathroom. He followed her to the bathroom, and she didn't know what else to do, so she pretended to throw up and made throwing up noises until finally he left. And he texted her later telling her that she had really nice birthing hips. He has a history of sort of misogynistic behavior.
Hey, I mean, listen, he was letting her know, hey, listen, if we take this to the next level, I think the twins, they should be able to hang out just fine. That's crazy. Is that guys, is that misogynistic? I think we overuse this word. I think we overuse the word misogynistic. Just like contempt for or ingrained prejudice against women. I don't think that's misogynistic. I think that's maybe borderline, it's inappropriate, probably borderline sexist, but misogynistic, come on.
At best, we can say he was socially awkward. He didn't read a room. He didn't understand how to navigate people. When he's a little bit older, Kohberger has a local bar that he goes to, and he ends up pursuing the females at the bar.
It's weird.
Asking them very personal information about themselves. And when they reject him, he's derogatory towards them, calling them pejorative names like bitches. We're seeing this ongoing pattern with Kohberger of struggling socially, struggling with boundaries, struggling with appropriateness. He is someone that has anger towards women.
One theory about Bryan Kohberger, for which there is no definitive proof, is that he fits the profile of somebody in the incel community. One particular martyr in the incel community is a man in California whose vitriol and anger and hatred towards women actually resulted in extreme violence. His name was Elliot Rodger.
Happens all the time.
Hi, Elliot Rodger here.
Elliot Rodger wanted to be popular among the ladies, and like he felt that there was no reason that they shouldn't like him because he was rich and had nice cars, but nobody would look at him or anything. And he just had a lot of anger in general.
Well, this is my last video.
He posted sort of a revenge video explaining his sort of ideology, and also wrote a manifesto, as mass killers sometimes do.
Dang,
Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity, against all of you.
Our top story tonight, a 22-year-old taking the lives of six others in a shooting rampage near UC Santa Barbara. 2 women standing outside a sorority and 1 man outside a deli were gunned down last night. 13 others injured and 3 others were stabbed to death at his apartment.
Elliot Rodger killed 6 people in a stabbing and shooting spree in 2014, and he's become a hero of the incel movement.
So I thought that there is a connection with Papa Rodger and Elliot Rodger. He picked that name for a specific reason, and it was because I believe what Elliot Rodger was saying resonated with him. Papa Rodger, he wanted to be like the daddy of Elliot Rodger, or like, you know, bigger than what Elliot Rodger had done.
All right, it's getting weird, guys. It's getting weird.
It's important to note that no evidence has emerged tying either Bryan Kohberger or Papa Rodger to online posts and incel forums, or that they expressed admiration for Elliot Rodger, but the parallels, they really are hard to ignore.
The fact that Elliot Rodger targeted the Alpha Phi sorority house at UC Santa Barbara, the same sorority that Kaylee Gonsalves belonged to, is that a coincidence?
When the police said that they were looking for a white Elantra, that just set off pandemonium on the page. Papa Rodger was insistent this white Elantra was a red herring, that it had nothing to do with the crime, was bogus, that we should be focusing on other things.
Man, let me find out Bryan was online self-snitching. If this is where this goes, yo, these guys, oh man. I'm gonna let it play out. I keep interrupting it, y'all. I'm gonna let it play out, but is Papa Rodger, y'all spoil it for me. Is Papa Rodger Bryan? Is that what happens here? Jesus.
In the first weeks of December, despite having no proof at all, the members of the forum began to speculate that Papa Rodger was actually the killer.
Oh my God.
People would ask for his removal. Like, you're gonna get rid of this guy or what? Because he's kind of scaring me, he's freaking me out. But I saw no reason to remove him.
This is crazy.
At the end of December, I had to travel where I was going to be offline and not be able to help. So we asked this number to help out for a little while as a moderator. Papa Rodger got into a big fight with a lot of people. He would fight incessantly with members in our page.
The wanting to see the maximum destruction, wanting to see the effects of your decision-making, and stirring the pot with the online community is something we do see sometimes in narcissistic individuals.
He had gotten several warnings. And this moderator that we had asked to help fill in removed him from the page.
Oh man, this Papa Rodger.
I was not happy with that decision.
Crazy.
When you remove somebody like that, a good chunk of their information goes with them. There's a lot of information that's now deleted completely. And what if there's some key evidence there?
Thankfully, we started taking tons of screenshots of things that he said on the page before it was removed. Papa Rodger was removed from the page somewhere between 4 and 6 p.m. And within the hour, Papa Rodger opens a new Facebook group called Moscow Murders Anything Goes.
Yikes.
Once police started looking into Bryan Kohberger, the more they learned about him, the more intriguing he became as a potential suspect.
When Bryan Kohberger turned out to be a criminology student, that added an entirely new layer to the story.
Oh no.
He ended up going to community college and sort of developing a really intense interest in murder. and that sort of carried him into grad school and beyond. He studied under a very, very prominent professor who's a serial killer expert, and I think that might have fascinated him. But he was known academically for having an interest specifically in crime scenes and DNA. He made plans to drive across the country home to Pennsylvania for winter break. His dad flew out to make the drive with him.
I suspect that there was some type of physical surveillance involved, if not for the full trip, then at least a good portion of the trip.
They were stopped a couple times by police in Indiana.
He was right up on the back end of that van, pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay, cool.
Man, how does this guy get pulled over so much?
Well, it's a strange exchange. Bryan seemed to avoid saying where they were really headed.
People theorize that the police who made these stops were aware of who he was and had intelligence about his connection to a possible crime.
Perhaps there was a reason why they wanted to slow him down, maybe for surveillance to catch up with him. Perhaps it was also to see what was going on inside the vehicle.
But do me a favor, don't follow too close, okay?
Officers never ticketed Kohberger for any traffic violations, and they let him go.
How does he keep getting pulled over?
Upon arrival in Pennsylvania, authorities were keeping an eye on Kohberger as a person of interest.
DNA extracted from the knife sheath found at the crime scene didn't yet point to one particular individual, but it helped investigators establish a family profile.
If they only do have that touch DNA and that one piece of genetic evidence, they are going to need other evidence to help back that up and tie a suspect directly to that crime scene.
Thank you, Donna.
They have to collect DNA directly from that individual and compare it against the court-admissible genetic profile.
At the time, Bryan Kohberger was staying at his parents' house in a gated community called Indian Mountain Lake.
The first thing they look to do is retrieve discarded household trash.
But once Kohberger was in Pennsylvania, he was, according to the police, super hyper vigilant about not leaving prints anywhere. He wore gloves everywhere he went.
How someone acts after a crime could be argued to be relevant if it suggests consciousness of guilt.
Paranoia.
Why would somebody be wearing gloves when they're putting out the garbage or cleaning their car? Is it because they're trying to eliminate certain fingerprint evidence or anything that could be tied back to them?
Unfortunately for him, his parents were not being as hypervigilant.
Oh no, this is not good. Dang.
So police were able to get the family's trash.
They pulled that DNA from Bryan Kohberger's parents' house, and it didn't match the suspect. Well, there's two males in this home that we know of, right? There's Bryan and his father. This is male DNA. Let's run a paternity comparison. And they got the match then.
Oh, no, Bryan, come on, Bryan.
They apparently got his father's DNA. Now, because his father is a first-degree relative, they can still use that STR profile.
That was the final straw. Investigators at that point were 99.9998% certain they had the right guy. Bryan Kohberger's cell records were a treasure trove of information.
Wow.
Wouldn't you know, Mr. Kohberger's phone was turned off at 2:47 a.m. the night of the murders. It also revealed that the phone was turned back on and traveling from Idaho back into Washington after 4:30 a.m. Now, why would someone turn off their phone at 2:30 in the morning only to turn it back on at 4:30?
Anytime somebody turns off their phone, it suggests that they're trying not to be picked up by communications networks during that particular time.
Yeah, and this is why we need to get into the trial. Because was it turned off? Did his battery die? I mean, there's so many, again. Yeah, exactly. Y'all said it in the chat. Again, there's so much we don't know. We're hearing one side of it. We're hearing the story. Obviously, it's being sensationalized because it's a documentary. But I don't know about this one.
Prior to the murders,
we got to get to trial.
A continued examination of Bryan Kohberger's cell phone
Did he turn
revealed
it
that on 12 separate occasions, Mr. Kohberger's phone is found in the area of King Road, essentially in the middle of the night. Was he stalking our young victims? Was he preparing to commit the crime? And see, I look at that in those 12 occasions, and then I look at November 13th and I say that occasion was different, because when he left his house that 13th time at 2:47 a.m., he shut his phone off. Why?
Why? We may never know.
The FBI assembled a team on the ground in Pennsylvania. All the parties agreed it was time to act.
A SWAT team rushed from the forested area around the house and surrounded it, broke the front window. The sounds are shattering.
And this is all because they found his DNA. I mean, and yeah, he was doing some weird stuff, but dang, guys, can you imagine? Imagine if you were in a pawn shop and you picked up a knife or something, you sneezed on it. Then the next day somebody bought the knife and committed some crimes with it. Your DNA's on the knife. They were wearing gloves. You were doing some iffy behavior. You didn't have an alibi. You're good. I try not to think about stuff like this, but man, you never know.
Tearing glass and breaking wood.
We'll see
He was
how the
found to be
evidence
awake
plays
in the
out.
residence. A SWAT team from the Pennsylvania State Police, in coordination with federal authorities, served that arrest warrant.
For a lot of people, there's sort of a sweet sense of justice. He's charged with murdering them in the dead of night while these kids felt safe in their bedrooms. And in the dead of night, the SWAT team came for Kohberger.
On January 5th, just a few days after the arrest, Kohberger made his first appearance in an Idaho court.
This is a capital case. The fact that the prosecution is seeking the death penalty against Bryan.
Wait. Was he in custody this whole time? Hold on. How did we just skip over? What's going on here?
It was time to act.
A SWAT team rushed from the forested area around the house and surrounded it, broke the front window. The sounds are shattering glass and breaking wood.
He was found to be awake in the residence. A SWAT team from the Pennsylvania State Police, in coordination with federal authorities, served that arrest warrant.
Okay, so how involved are the
For
feds
a lot
in
of
this
people,
case?
there's sort of a sweet sense of justice. He's charged with murdering them in the dead of night while these kids felt safe in their bedrooms. And in the dead of night, the SWAT team came for Kohberger.
So he's in custody because
On January 5th, just a few days after the arrest, Kohberger made his first appearance in an Idaho court.
This is a capital case. The fact that the prosecution is seeking the death penalty against Bryan Kohberger really turns the volume up on this case, because his life now hangs in the balance.
Alina and Christine also went back over Papa Roger's new Facebook group, Moscow Murders Anything Goes. And they discovered something very odd.
When Bryan Kohberger is arrested, Papa Roger profile goes blank. You don't see it anymore.
Yeah,
There's no more interactions at all.
Sorry, sometimes I feel like I'm too
That just
loud.
sent chills up my spine, like, oh my God, he probably was in the group.
That whole profile gets erased from the internet. And that admin gets erased as well. And poof, gone.
I believe that,
Who did that?
the police and the FBI probably worked to get all of this information offline so they can use it in their case.
There's no mention of Papa Roger in the probable cause affidavit or really any evidence that the FBI took down the account. In fact, there may be no connection to Kohberger at all. But Alina and Christine could not help but notice something very striking about the Papa Roger profile picture.
Also, this is not, just so y'all know, this obviously is not a federal, he has no federal charges in this as well. So the FBI just helped out with the investigation. They instigated the investigation with forensic evidence, phone records. So they picked up this guy, suspicious activity, DNA, and phone records. the way this is presented here, I'm not seeing how. We must be missing something. We're gonna have to do some more research because I'm not seeing how he would have been indicted on just that.
His actual profile picture is of a Russian military guy from Moscow. In my eyes, he does resemble the suspect. I see it 100%.
If you were to look at Kohberger sideways, like his profile, I feel like that looks just like him.
I think for Kohberger, if in fact he was that profile Papa Roger, if this was a thrill-seeking situation for him, a thrill-seeking event, you know, dropping these little clues, dropping these hints, helps him not only relive the high, but it helps him stay in control and create sort of a secondary high for himself, which is the hunt for him.
All right, no, we don't know all that.
You can see that excavator at work, making quick work of the front side of the house, which is essentially gone now.
All the evidence that could possibly be garnered from the site has been garnered. All the belongings have been moved out.
Do you think it's at all possible that the prosecution is so confident about their case, they're not worried at all about the house standing?
I've been told that exact thing. I've been told 100%. The amount of stuff we have, Steve.
I don't know.
Relax.
After assessing everything and the weight of the evidence against Mr. Kohberger, it certainly doesn't look great for him. But he has that right to a fair trial, and he's assumed innocent until he is proven guilty in that Idaho court of law.
The two surviving roommates, they've never spoken publicly, and by all accounts, they were really severely traumatized by the events of that night, but they're trying to move forward with their lives.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Interesting. We got to follow up on this. If y'all are here for it, I'm going to be here for it too. Shout out to you guys for putting me onto this one. What do you think? It seems like there's a lot of information missing, so we're going to have to do some more research onto what's going on here. Maybe look at some of the pretrial hearings, see what evidence they actually have, and maybe we can come to a better conclusion from there. Either way, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat as well. Shout out to the gang, man. Thank you to all 3,300 of you that liked the video. And I appreciate y'all sticking with us here too. I know I missed a bunch of super chats, and I apologize to those of y'all who I might have skipped over. Let me double check and see. So E said, I missed one of your super chats earlier. Oh, my bad. Here we go. Shout out to E. Cola T says, with the 5 bomb, I think BA encouraged BH to fight John. Ooh, Brian Alberts encouraged Brian Higgins to fight John for Karen. Oh, so he was instigating. I could see that. Chloe got excited and jumped on him. John fell backwards and hit his head. Drunk fight is their culture. I believe it. And I think that's what happened too. I think the guys were scuffling or play fighting. Chloe saw that and got excited, attacked somebody. John stumbled back, fell back, hit his head on something. I know Amy was talking about the weights in the garage. I think that were mentioned during the first trial. And there's something that possibly could have happened there. I don't know. But I'm with you on that. It seems like it was an accident. Also, we've got Girl Ryan in here with the 5 bomb. Says his review was so thorough that he didn't realize like 11 billion different things. Sheesh. Insert sarcastic eye roll font above. Yeah. Hank the Hero. I'm gonna get a t-shirt that says that. Amy says that was BS. Yep. Shout out to Amy with the super sticker. We've also got, oh man, we've got L Harrison here. I'm gonna mess up your name. Larissa. I think it's Larissa. We'll say Larissa Harrison here with the 10 bomb. Says Court TV condoning jury bullying, apparently having D Petro on. Look at Julie G view around trial 1. Her point of view is very different. Interesting. Okay, we'll have to go back and rewind on that. Hank gaslighted, lied, tried to strip the defense experts, evidence, tricks, etc. Not to mention, as Alessi said, they weren't even allowed to present an alternate theory. So they were, not only did they have trouble saying, hey guys, we have evidence from ACA that's going to prove that Karen Ring couldn't have possibly do this? They had trouble getting that evidence in. The judge didn't even allow them to present an alternate theory based on the investigation that they conducted, which is sad. It's so sad. Also, oh man, Miss Harris in here again. Shout out to Larissa Harris with the 10 bomb, says lawyering 101, likability and trust of a jury is crucial. Some people just aren't likable. Let's be real. Hank made me feel physically sick at times. I followed all the hearings in trial 1, and unfortunately my eyes and ears can't be gaslighted. That's a fact. I said that so many times during the trial. We're not blind. We're not blind, and we're not deaf. As you said, we heard all the medical experts saying, I see no injuries showing or that line up with a collision. John wasn't hit. I don't see any injuries showing that. Arm was intact, body was intact, and he didn't get hit in the back of the head by this 6,000-pound vehicle backing up at 24 miles an hour. So yeah, let's not do that. We've got E. Cola T in here. I got your super chat, says you missed my last super chat. So here's another one. Thank you so much. I think fighting is in their culture. Drunk and messy fighting. Think of Enrique Delgado Garcia's case. I have no idea who that is, but I'll have to look it up. And thank you for the second super chat. We've got Donna Buchanan in here. Dropping the 20 bomb. Just showing some love. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that. And then, of course, my awesome, amazing Amy in here. Talking to Jennifer, says, Jennifer, he is hot and very married. Super married. ClassE, stay beautiful and hot. I love and appreciate you. I love and appreciate you too, Amy. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the super chat. You did not have to do that because you know I read what you say without it, but thank you so much. All right, let me read a couple more comments and then I might actually stop holding y'all hostage and let you get out of here. So many new folks today. It's great to see. Thank you. Can we shout out all the new people who are in here? The biggest live stream this year so far. Y'all showed up and showed out. Thank you so much to everyone who's in the building. Thank you to everyone that liked the video. Thank you to everyone that shared the video too, because y'all are a big part of why everyone's here and has seen this as well. So thank y'all so much. I'm a first-time subscriber. Thank you for being here. Marley Mum, thank you, thank you. Funny Jennings said the AT&T timing records weren't available before May of 2023, but then got caught and said you needed to ask within 7 days. Why is she lying? There's a lot more going on than we know. They are hot and married. Smart women find these guys. Hey, shout out to you. Thank you for that. And it's sad John's family couldn't hear it. Man, not gonna lie, bro. I thought you were AI at first. Don't judge me. The world is confusing. Hey, man, have y'all seen some of these AI videos? Oh my goodness. And why do you think I'm AI? I'm not even that symmetrical. You see this hairline? Hey, yo. You see this hairline? I'm not AI. Why would you make an AI with a hairline like that? Thank you. Shout out to Jay Ray. So how can we keep track of when you're online again? Great question, Corey. Thank you for asking that. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time that we go live. Also, I'm live every weekday morning, Monday through Friday. We do not miss a day, guys. We've been going on 3-4 plus years and we have not missed. So we'll be here every weekday between 9:30 and 10:30. Start time's different sometimes. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any time we go live. Thank you for asking that great question, Corey. I appreciate it. And we're going to be here. All right. So don't miss it. Why are they so dead set on it being Karen's fault? Because they don't have any other theory that could possibly make sense. Even that one doesn't make sense. Court TV has become the story, bad news, proof of bad journalism. Just stay unbiased you don't have to double down on this terrible take. Your show is great. Thank you. I appreciate you doing some big numbers, but don't change. Nah, this is just the beginning. God has good things in store. Amen, Witchy Bishy. I agree. And again, we're going to continue to view these trials as someone who could possibly be on the juror. So yeah, honestly, I think it would be tough if I were to continue my education in certain ways, which I'm going to anyway. But you guys hold me accountable and make sure that we continue to remember that it's always innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof is on the state, and we need to see the case play out. We can have our opinions along the way. Even though Vintage doesn't like it, we can have our reactions as things go on. But we have to remember that, because it could be me, it could be you. Like I said, we could be in a pawn shop and sneeze on a knife, and then we end up like Bryan Kohberger, because we were driving around college campus one night because we couldn't sleep. I mean, we don't know. So we have to keep platforms like this going. All right. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Oh, I want to see Beth's face when she saw the pic of the garage. Yeesh. That's tough. 100%. The popo cannot be trusted, and the evidence is not always credible. Listen, the police have a job to do, which is why anytime, which is not often, I have an interaction with the police, I'll be like, hey, listen, man, I know you got a job to do, but we ain't talking. I got to protect myself. You're not here at this moment to protect me. You're here to do a job. So I got somebody I need to call, and we can talk later. I think he was planning this from the moment he got accepted to grad school. Ooh, in Washington. And that's what the evidence will show. Interesting take. I can't wait to see this play out. This is going to be a good one for sure. Later, guys, going to watch the live about Iran firing on the U.S. base in Qatar. Hopefully everyone's okay. Yeah, prayers go out to everyone who's stationed out there in Qatar. I was telling Amy earlier, my dad was stationed out there at one point. Thank God he's not anymore, but hopefully everyone's okay. This is not gonna be fun. So y'all pray. Just unsubscribe from Court TV. Ah, dang. And give him a chance. All right. Everybody has bad takes every now and then. I don't. No, I'm kidding. But some places they do. All right. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for the love. Again, if you haven't yet, like I told Corey, you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time that we go live or drop a new video. I'll be dropping clips later on and throughout this afternoon, and also into tomorrow morning. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be making the thumbnail for tomorrow's live stream. And again, y'all make sure you stay tuned in, because we've covered what's going on with Fat Joe. We've covered what's going on with Wendy Williams. We're going to have my guy Joe Tacopina on the channel here coming up soon. You won't want to miss out on that. And I'll be giving you guys a notice about when that's taking place. All right. Hope y'all have a great rest of your afternoon. As always, you guys know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace.